Motherhood can bring such beautiful moments, and your life is changed forever. It can also bring really challenging times as well. Nothing really prepares you for it. Today, I have Sydney on the podcast, who is such a great mom. I first followed Sydney on Instagram, where I fell in love with her fitness content for women. I loved learning through the things she was posting while I was pregnant with my first, and I've continued to learn while having my second and now being postpartum. Sydney takes us on some of her personal journeys through motherhood and some of the difficult moments as well. These are very personal experiences, and I'm grateful that she was willing and able to share because they gave me support, and I hope that they're able to help others find peace in them as well. Being a mother can be challenging, but I'm grateful we can be there for each other. Thank you, Sydney. This episode was recorded before I had my second, so if you're wondering why things sound a little bit in the past, that's why. Here we go. Welcome to Grow Wild. I'm your host, Kaylee, and I'm excited to spotlight moms in all phases of life and build community in our own experiences. Let's grow together in this wild journey of motherhood. I am so excited for this interview. I have Sydney here with me today. Hi, Sydney.
Hi, how's it going?
I am just so excited for this interview. I followed Sydney when I was pregnant with my first and just followed along with her Instagram. And she is just an amazing mom and is a fitness guru to me because in this transition of motherhood, I needed all the help I could get. So I'm grateful
We
that
all do.
I'm grateful that you get to be here today.
Thanks, Kaylee. I'm excited to be here.
I wanted to start off with just talking about your education and how you ended up in the field that you are in right now.
Yeah, so I come from like a medical family. Always kind of knew I wanted to do something in the health and wellness medical field, just didn't know exactly what. I got my bachelor's degree, so I played sports all through life. I ended up going to college for volleyball. I went to UCSB and got my bachelor's degree there and did an internship in the weight room and got like a health and wellness certificate and just was kind of exploring all options of strength training versus therapy versus health and wellness coaching and just kind of trying to tease out what was my real interest. And then actually ended up taking a year off to spend some more time figuring it out. And I did some prereqs for grad school and ended up deciding to apply to occupational therapy school. I went to USC and got my master's in occupational therapy there. And just I feel like occupational therapy is an occupation that not very many people know a whole lot about, a profession that not many people know. Like they hear the word occupational therapy and they think like, oh, you help people get jobs, but it's it's like not at all what it is. And so it's similar to physical therapy and like you're assessing and addressing the body, but it's a little bit different from physical therapy in that it takes like a holistic aspect to it. So you're looking at the social emotional health of the person, the physical well-being, and then all of the things that go into their life and their circumstance and what their goal or their daily occupations are. So it varies from childhood to adulthood, and I just fell in love with it because I didn't feel like I was being put in a box, and I felt like there were so many opportunities that you could use occupational therapy to do. And like looking back now, I'm like, wow, yeah, I am not anywhere where I expected to be with an occupational therapy degree. But it's really cool that it's allowed me to kind of navigate different spaces within that. So that was a long-winded answer to that's the gist of my education.
I love it. I think that it's so cool that occupational therapy can just go through all avenues of what you're going through in life. And I feel like that's a new thing that I've learned about. Like I never remember hearing about occupational therapy as like a teenager or like early adulthood, and now I'm like everyone should see an occupational therapist. We all need it.
Yeah, it's like there's such a wide range of things that you can do with it from truly like birth to aging and like the elderly and just supporting it's really your daily occupation. So whatever you find joy and purpose in, that's what occupational therapy is there for, to help identify the factors that are limiting you from being able to participate in it well. And so, yeah, it could be a variety of different factors, but it drew me in because of the like very holistic aspect that it takes when approaching just well-being.
I love that. Do you remember or do you have a defining moment for yourself when you decided that that was the path you wanted to go down, realizing you wanted to help others achieve their goals?
There were like definitely a few different moments that I can recall of seeing, and like I had a high school club volleyball coach who was an occupational therapist, and she was like really my first experience with like what even is this profession called occupational therapy. And she worked with children with special needs in the school district, and so I got to go over spring break and just kind of watch what she did, and just saw like the way these kids lit up when they came into the room to help like guide them through activities that were actually like their just right challenge. So something that in a typical school setting, like the speed may be fast, the people around them may be overstimulating, or there's so many different things that like the occupational therapists come in and they give them this time and attention that makes them feel like seen and known and heard, and like you just see the way that they like light up and change. And that was like my first intro into OT, where I was like, yes, like this is what I want to do. I always knew I loved kids, and like the idea of working with kids sounded awesome. I just didn't know like how or what that looked like. And so that was like the first instance. And then again, I kind of went back and forth. During my year off, I did performance training for high school and college athletes. So I did like the internship in college, ended up kind of pursuing that a little bit in my off year, did training for sports performance in that realm. And then when I got into therapy school, we started having like our clinical rotations pretty quickly. And one of the first clinical rotations I did was in acute care at a hospital, in pediatrics, and it was actually in the NICU. And it was like an area of occupational therapy that I didn't even know existed. And when I got in there and saw again what the OTs do to support these families, to support these babies in like such a fragile time of life, I was like, yes, like this is what I want to do in OT. I want to be a NICU therapist because this is just incredible. Like you're supporting these families in a way that again makes them feel seen, makes them feel supported and loved in like a time that they just feel broken. So that was, yeah, those are, I would say, like the two main memories that I have that really solidified my choice to go this direction.
Thanks for sharing that. I think that OT is such I don't know, it's a mystery for me, but I could imagine it'd be just so rewarding for to just help all these different families and people in such a unique phase of life that they're
Yeah,
in. It is really
yeah.
cool. And I didn't even know that NICU occupational therapists even existed until you shared that with me. And that kind of transitions me into my next
Hmm.
question. You had a unique experience as a NICU occupational therapist, and I wanted to kind of dive into your motherhood story and your nursing journey because you were sharing with
Hmm.
me that was a moment when you finally understood fed is best for your baby.
Yeah, yeah, wow. So there's like so many different levels of things that I could go into and talk about with that. So I had the experience of being in my clinical rotations as an occupational therapy student, and like level one and level two, which is just like basically you're observing and then you're like actually doing the things. It's like the different levels of occupational therapy. And so in the NICU, yeah, you're helping the occupational therapists. A lot of them are lactation consultant as well. So they have like the double certification. And so if you don't have that certification, you can help with like oral motor control and development to create that like latch, attach, and suck, and like the suck, swallow, breathe coordination that a baby needs to have to be able to nurse. And so that was like one of my first experiences with just seeing breastfeeding in general and like the difficulty that comes with it, and how, especially with like newborns and these premature newborns, they have a hard time latching and like having that coordinated suck, swallow, breathe pattern, and how frustrating it can be for the mom to like just want to be able to feed their baby and to just feel defeated. And so I would see these OTs and lactation consultants and specialists come in and just support these moms through that time. And it was just incredible to see like just the little changes that they make, and just like honestly, even just being a person in that room to support the mom at that time, and seeing the difference that it made for them in their nursing experience, and feeling like they were doing something right in like a really stressful, honestly, a lot of the time traumatizing stage of life for them. And then transitioning that into my own experience. Yeah, when I had my son, he had a tongue tie, a lip tie, and he had reflux. And so, and like a lot of other food intolerances that we ended up finding out little by little, because he had a lot of rashes that he was getting. And it was just being a new mom, not ever having any really, I mean, I had exposure obviously to seeing these moms and these OTs in the NICU with their breastfeeding experiences, but not really ever having heard like difficult stories of nursing, and just kind of expecting it to be this like natural experience that is like, I love it and it feels great and I love bonding with my child. Like that was the image that I had created in my head of what it should be like. And then to actually like have this baby who was starving, like he was so hungry and so upset because he just wanted to eat, and I like could not provide that for him, to the point where he was like losing weight, and we had to go in every day and get it checked. And then like I had a lactation consultant come in the hospital because I had that previous experience of like, hey, this could be an issue. I just want somebody to come in and have eyes on me and like give me the tips. And they came in and were like, hey, yeah, like everything looks good. And I was like, but it doesn't feel good. Like this feels wrong. He's upset all the time, or he's just like very hungry. I don't know. And like even having been someone who had a little bit of knowledge and experience in that field, still feeling like very helpless and like not knowing where to go and who to go to get that support, was just a lot. And so then I ended up reaching out to a friend that I worked with in Florida who was an occupational therapist, was lactation consultant, was certified in all the things, had like a big, just like, she was just a well educated, and I don't know what the words are that I'm looking for, but she was just well versed in all things oral motor, tongue ties, lip ties, all the things. And I was like, hey, something is wrong. Like something is telling me that this is wrong. I don't know exactly what, but I would just love for you to like take a look and let me know what you think. So I connected with her, and she connected me with another nurse who's also like a cranial sacral therapist. And they were like, yep, he definitely has functional limitations. Like he can't lift his tongue up to even like strip the milk from your breast. And then also like he's got a lip tie, so he can't flange his lip to like get over to like then suck them in. So anyways, it's like this whole thing of like there's all these little things that like weren't caught the first time that were leaving me feeling like I was not doing a good job being a mom. Like I was trying to feed my baby and it wasn't working, and I was like so stuck on like I need to breastfeed, I need to breastfeed, I need to breastfeed because this is what's best for him. And I remember going into this appointment, and this is what you had brought up with what we talked about before, if that is best. And I remember going into this appointment, and we were like so exhausted because we didn't sleep at all because he was up all night because he was hungry and my milk wasn't coming in, and it was just all these things. And the nurse practitioner that we saw that day, she was like, I think it's time for you to try formula. And I was like, in my brain, I was like, no, like absolutely not. um, and she's like, I'm saying this from a place of love. Fed is best. She's like, you're doing everything you can. And right now, like, you just have to focus on the fact that your child needs food and they will be okay. Like, you give them this food, you let him just kind of regroup, reset. This doesn't mean you're done nursing forever. But she was like, he's going to get to kindergarten and nobody's going to know if he breastfed or if he was bottle fed or if he had formula or if he had this or that. Like, just give yourself a break, take a minute, let your baby have some food and regroup. I just remember like then feeling guilty of like, I'm not letting my child eat. And of course, like that's just like the typical mom, right? Of like, I felt guilty about this and now I'm feeling guilty about this. But we gave him formula and he literally like passed out for like 2 hours. So it's like the happiest he's ever been. And I was just like, why did I take so long to do this? Like, it's just, there's so much that happens in those first days, weeks of first time parenting that like you just don't know what to expect. And you like hope and pray that you have the right people on your team to support you through those things. But like, it's like we're all just learning as we go. And so, yeah, that's something that I definitely share with any like mom, client, anybody that I'm interacting with of like, give yourself grace and like, yeah, again, fed is best. Like whatever you choose to do for your baby, for your family is the best decision for you guys. Like it doesn't really matter in the long run. Again,
I
long-winded.
no, I appreciate you saying that so much. And I think everything you said is just so perfect. And it's so, like you said, you are so vulnerable those first like days and weeks of being a new mom and a new parent. Like, neither of you have any idea what's going on. The baby has no idea what's going on. And you're just trying to do your best. And I think that a lot of moms are going to resonate with the things that you said and just find comfort. Like, it's okay. Like, whatever you choose to get that baby healthy or whatever they need, like, just those first, that first bit is so vulnerable. And I had the same
Yeah.
vision of like, this vision of like breastfeeding and it was going to be this beautiful thing. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember being like, this is terrible. I was like,
Yeah, no,
this is
there was,
really hard. It was not
yeah.
like beautiful for a really long time. And I did not enjoy it at the beginning at all.
Yeah, and I think that's actually more common than not, but it's just not talked about. It's like
Yeah.
another one of those things of like we're all just supposed to like assume that we're supposed to be happy and enjoying this and it's beautiful and it's bonding and like I remember there was a moment where like in the first few days my milk wasn't coming in, like my baby was screaming, my husband had taken him out of the room and I'm like sitting there with like the pump on like by myself in this room just like hating life because I'm like this is the worst. Like this is not what I expected. And it's just, there's just so much pressure that I feel like is put on moms and families and like not just mom, like moms, dads, families, whatever your family looks like there's so much pressure that can be put on us to how like get everything quote unquote perfect. But like, what even is that, you know?
I know.
So I don't know. I feel like, especially the second time around for me, I'm just gonna try and let those things go a little more because
Hmm.
it's not worth the energy.
No, it's not worth the energy at all. And you already have so little to begin with, or
Right.
like extra energy to like store. So if you're using that on things that don't matter, it's just a waste. I feel like that's where I'm trying to get. And
Yeah.
it's a learning curve. And I think it's hard too because you devote like the 9 months that you're pregnant. And then when you're finished those 9 months, anyways, for me, I thought, oh, I'm done. Like, I don't have to, like, my body is my own again, but it's not. Like,
Yeah.
it's not, even if you don't nurse.
Yeah, totally. And I think like it's something that I feel like I had friends who had babies before me like try to explain it, but you just like truly don't know until you know. You know, it's like one of those things that it's just such a and it's like the most beautiful thing, but also like the most exhausting and energy taking. And it's like the constant challenge to find the balance between those things, right? Of like appreciating it and enjoying it and being in the moment and like not feeling like you're giving every little ounce of yourself all the time. It's such
Hmm.
a struggle.
I know. Cause like the highs are so high. Like they're
Hmm.
so amazing and the joys, but there are some low lows
Yeah.
that are real. And I feel like a lot of women don't talk about because, yeah, you do want to
Hmm.
have this. You are grateful. And I wouldn't trade anything
Totally.
for the family that I have and what we're doing. But I mean, it's hard. And I think just understanding those emotions can coexist and then
Hmm.
finding that balance, which is really hard.
For sure. Yeah. And I feel like it's something that, I mean, I'm constantly growing in every day. Like every day is a new, like, I just got to take a minute, you know, I just got to take a minute to breathe, like, take a minute to, like, just stop before I respond, especially with being pregnant and having a toddler right now. I feel like my patience and my just overall, I don't know, mind is like not in a good place.
It's hard.
And so it's just like constantly reminding myself of like the bigger picture. And, but then also being like, yeah, it's okay. Like your body's going through a lot. Like you're creating a human and sustaining a human too. Like there's just,
Yeah.
I don't know, there's so many things. And like for the families that have multiple kids, like, and just keep having more, I just have like the greatest respect for it because I am like, yeah, you just are doing it all. Like, good for you, you know?
I know. It is
Yeah.
just like, yeah, families in general, raising kids. I think my mind, I have shifted so much in my mindset since becoming a
Yeah.
mother that I really, I knew I'd grow, but I didn't know I'd grow this much in such a short amount of time. Um, and just continue to like really grow in patience and understanding and know that it's okay to not have a perfect day and know that it's okay.
Hmm.
Like, I'm going to mess up and I may not be the best mom, but I'm trying my best. And my best is
Yeah.
maybe like 50% today, but that's what we're going to have. And that's okay. Like, it's all right to be
Yeah.
that way.
That's like it's funny that you say that because that's an analogy or like a thought that I use a lot with my clients of like creating consistent exercise routines of like, I would rather you show up for 15 to 20 minutes every day, whether one day it's 100%, the next day it's 15%, the next day it's 30, like whatever it looks like. Like just keep showing up because like the more you keep showing up, the more it'll just create this habit and this routine that is becoming a lifestyle. And like you hearing you say it like that, it's like, oh wow, yeah, like that could apply to like so many more things of like even just life in general and being a mom of like just keep showing up, keep breathing, keep doing your best and like that's all we can do at the end of the day, for
Hmm.
sure.
And I think our kids know that, or at least that's what I tell myself is that they know I'm trying my best.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
um,
They know our hearts.
I think so. I wanted to ask you, and I love that you were able to share that story because I truly think that a lot of moms are going to resonate with that. Do you have any advice for moms that maybe are struggling with the whole fed is best and just getting past that maybe mental block of like, this is the vision I pictured, and now that's
Hmm.
having to change?
I think the biggest piece of advice that, I mean, I kind of touched on it a little bit, but it's just not trying to get out of the world of comparison. I think I often find myself like looking at friends or people that I look up to or people on social media or whatever it may be, you know, insert in the blank. And looking at that and thinking like, oh, like my life needs to look like that. Or like, I wish that my experience looks like feels the way that looks, you know? And it's really easy to look at people from the outside and like create this picture of what you see. And I think more often than not, there's a lot below the surface for everybody that we don't see, right? And so that would be my first piece would be just try to avoid that comparison and just really focus on your family's well-being, your personal well-being. And then two, like find really advocate to find the support people that will get you the help. Like if it is somebody who is really fixed on wanting to breastfeed and continue, like that's really something that's important to you, then like keep searching out those people, like whether it's an OT or a lactation professional. Like a lot of times, what I've seen is that, and this is kind of getting into a different thing, so feel free to stop me at any point. But like the hardest part is for like babies who are labeled colicky, um, that like they're just a colicky baby. And something that I found in our personal experience was like, no, like he's not colicky. He's just got other things going on. Like newborns and babies in general, like when we had a pediatrician tell us this, like they should be happy. So like if they're not happy, you kind of need to keep digging. And that was something that not necessarily on like the fed is best standpoint, but from like an advocating for like my baby and our family's health, was something that like I just wouldn't take no for an answer. Like the lactation consultant that we saw in the hospital who was like, "Yep, everything looks good." I was like, "Okay, the first day, like sure, okay." She looked at me like I've never done this before. She's the professional. Like she's telling me what I'm supposed to be doing, what it's supposed to be look like, what it's supposed to look like, and she's saying all is good. So like I should trust that and move on. And then like another day went by and like nothing was changing. Like he wasn't getting any more calm. I wasn't getting any more rest because I was like literally constantly feeding him and he like just never seemed satisfied. And that was when at that point I was like, okay, like something else is going on here. And so that's when I reached out to my friend. And again, I am in a position that I had people to reach out to that were like in those fields that could help. But if you don't, like talk to your pediatrician, ask for other opinions, ask for referrals. And so like we started with my OT friend who does all the oral motor stuff, the craniosacral lady who helped him with like some tension and he was had like a one side preference and like all these other things that like I would not have known had I not gone to them. But then as they addressed them and like taught me how to do things at home with him, like things started to get better. And then he started having these rashes and then they were like, "Hey, maybe you should look into like allergies and intolerances and like try eliminating these things and try this," and like which led me to then researching. And like I'm somebody that also just like won't take no for an answer. So I then like was, and again getting back to like the mom guilt of like spending all my time researching like what could be causing this, and like in a good way and in a bad way. I ended up finding this like other area, which led me to an allergist, which he ended up having like a pretty severe um, allergy and intolerance that is a topic for a whole nother day. But it was like a solid 6 months by the end of it of like eliminating, reintroducing foods into my diet and like seeing how it affected him. And at the end of the day, like there were four foods that were like highly, highly reactive for him. And when I eliminated them, he stopped getting the rashes. He stopped throwing up. He stopped being fussy and he was like this happy, sweet baby. And so like getting back to what our original pediatrician had said of like babies should be happy. So like when they're not, you kind of need to like keep digging. Um, that is like the other thing of like if your gut tells you that like something's going on, like keep searching for like that person or that answer or that something that's going to help you get a little bit more support in that. But yeah, I don't know. That was really like another side story, but something that I just felt important to share.
No, I think that's really important and really great because, I mean, as a parent, you have to be an advocate for your child. Like, who else is going to
Hmm.
be that advocate? And that's, there are children. And I think it's really, I admire the steps that you took because it would be really hard to like, it's a process. And I've
Hmm.
heard of moms having to go through it. And a lot of times they're turned down, or people are like,
Hmm.
yeah, like you said, they're just a colicky baby. But it's nice to hear that a nurse practitioner was like, no, like babies should be happy, so there should be something else. So I really appreciate
Yeah.
you sharing your experiences.
Yeah. And I mean, and again, I'm not here to be like, if your baby is like upset, like there is something wrong with them. Like that's also not the point, right? Of like, I know that there are moms that like have gut feelings of like there's something else going on here and they just don't feel heard. And those are the moments that it I'm encouraging of like ask again or like ask somebody else or ask a friend of a friend who knew that friend that did that thing. Like you never know where it could lead you.
Yeah.
And I think in some instances it can be like really validating to get those answers and to get the support and to help your baby and your own well-being just like be a little bit more at peace of like, okay, I'm not crazy. Like there's actually something else going on.
Yeah.
Because yeah, that's that's a whole nother thing that just is like a mental load. It like, it just adds to all the other things that you're managing. So
No, I love that. And I think, yeah, like you said, there's already so many things loaded on. And as a first time parent, and then you're not sleeping, I'm sure.
yeah,
And then add just like all the fatigue and all the things that you have to take on as new parents. And when you don't know what's going on, that, I mean, it's just hard. It's a hard time.
Mhm.
And being an advocate and trusting your gut, I think, is a really important thing for new parents and new moms
Mhm.
and what they're going through.
Yeah, definitely.
Another topic, which I am really grateful for that you are open to share with,
Mhm.
and a difficult one, I think, for a lot of women is
Mhm.
pregnancy loss and family planning. And so many people want to comment on things, especially when they're not going through it. And it's so personal and it's so unique for each family. And I'm really grateful that you have said that you were open to share with this, is that you had a
Mhm.
miscarriage. And I just know that this is such a tender topic, but I was wondering if you would be able to share that experience with your family and how you've healed through that loss.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's it's like something that still makes, I don't know, makes me emotional a little bit just thinking about it. So before we had my son, um, when we were trying to get pregnant for the first time, we got pregnant, like everything looked good, went for our first ultrasound, and it was, I think, at like 6.5 weeks at that time. And the doctor was like, kind of, or the ultrasound tech was kind of just like quieter at the ultrasound, like didn't really like, wasn't like super excited like we expected kind of it to be, but also wasn't like like down by any means. But she just said, I'm gonna send these results over to the doctor, and she's gonna meet with you and just kind of discuss them. And I was like, okay, like I've never done this before, so like why would I expect it to be any different, you know? And so we went and saw the doctor, and she had said something along the lines of like, baby just looks like, baby has a heartbeat. It's a little slower than we like it to be. Baby looks a little smaller than we would expect at this point, but it's early. Due dates are not always like calculated right. Like things could be like, you never know. So we're going to have you come back in a couple weeks, or in a week. I don't remember if it was 1 or 2 weeks later. Um, and we'll take a look again. And so we went back for the repeat ultrasound again, like saw the baby on the monitor, and at that point it didn't have a heartbeat anymore. And so at that point, it's just, you feel heartbroken, right? Because you've seen this baby on the ultrasound, it's like in you, you feel this connection with it, you've been so excited about it, and then all of a sudden, um, it's not living anymore. And one of the things that like has stuck with me for better or for worse, and honestly at the time it was for worse, was when we went in, and it was the nurse practitioner, not our primary doctor, that we saw that day. And she said like 1 in 3 pregnancies end in miscarriage. And I think she repeated that probably like 4 or 5 times throughout the time that we were in that room after we had just like gotten the news. And it's, I think she meant it in a way that was supposed to be like encouraging and supportive of like, hey, no, you're not alone in this. 1 in 3 pregnancies end in miscarriage. But in my head, it was like 1 in 3 pregnancies end in miscarriage, period. Like you're one of them. And not to make a joke of it or anything, but it was just, I remember sitting there staring at the wall, and I just kept hearing that repeat in my head over and over and over of like, in this moment where we're feeling so much like just sadness over this news, and then for you to only be able to say that and not like, I'm really sorry this happened, you know? And it's something that's difficult, right? Because nobody knows what to say in those situations of like, nothing really would have made us feel better at that point. Like we're just heartbroken that we had connected and we're excited about this baby, and then it didn't exist anymore. And then yeah, had to go through a process of like a DNC after, and just like, then there came so much secondary trauma that I don't think I was like at all prepared for. Um, with like every time I walked into a store, like I walked into Target, and like you see all these families with kids, and you see the baby section, and like things that like the day before I was so excited about now just feels like something that I don't get to have access to. And just like And I know like we went through a miscarriage once and then got pregnant with my son. But it's still, even I'm currently pregnant now, and leading up to this pregnancy, there was so much fear of like, what if that happens again? And like we got the positive pregnancy test, and it just never felt positive. It's like once we had that experience of like, well, we've gotten this before and didn't have a good outcome. And I know like we are one of the blessed ones that only had it happen one time. There are others who have had it happen multiple times, and it never gets easier, and it's hard to even like fathom what that person is going through, because every experience is like so personal and so different. But it's just something that is not talked about enough. Like again, like when you hear that stat that 1 in 3 pregnancies end in miscarriage, like that's 30%. But are you hearing about 30% of people who haven't had a healthy pregnancy? No, people aren't sharing about that because it's hard and it's hurtful and it's emotionally exhausting and physically and spiritually, like at so many levels. Like there's things today that I still am affected by. And I feel very lucky to have gone through, during my time in OT school, I did an internship with an organization called Return to Zero Hope. And it's all about maternal loss, like pregnancy loss, and how to support moms through and families through any type of loss. And it talks about like trauma informed care from the standpoint of the providers and how to support these families through it. And then also, as somebody who has gone through it, like how do you process it and how do you acknowledge it and not just kind of push it away? And I like look back at that time and look at all the like little things that I learned from that organization that then helped me actually process and go through our own loss of like, we planted a sunflower for it, and we like have a picture of the ultrasound up, and it's like, and there's like an ornament on our tree, like little things that like allowed me to connect and process this grief and loss that like is a very real loss. Like to us it was our baby, and it's someone that still feels like part of our family, and we're not willing to kind of like let go of because they were part of our family. And had I not had that experience, I think the process would have been so much harder of like just trying to figure out how to navigate and go through the grieving series. And then like even thinking about getting pregnant again and like all of those things, like I know I tapped on it before, but it's just scary. Like it's once it's happened one time, it's like a little bit tainted. And as much as you want to have hope and joy and all these things, like for me, it just was really hard every time.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And it breaks my heart that people, and you have even had to experience it, because I mean, it would be really difficult, and I just know that your story is going to help other people feel like they're not alone. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the hardest part is I'm sure you just felt so alone, and it would just
Mm-hmm.
be so it would just be really difficult. Like I can't even fathom what it would feel like, and it breaks my heart that such a large percent of people have to like that they experience this, cuz I remember as a teenager and hearing the word miscarriage thinking,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, that like never happens."
Right. I was just gonna say something that I like came to learn too was that the more I was vulnerable and shared about it, the more I started to hear other people's stories too of like, I'm so sorry that you're going through that. We too went through the same thing. And it's that it's hard to be vulnerable. It's hard to share things that tug on your heart and that are emotional and um yeah, but when I did and when other people do, then it's a bonding experience, and it kind of brings that support and that validation that others are looking for, that you're not alone in it. And you're like, unfortunately, there's a lot of moms and families who go through this, and it's just something that is really challenging to talk about and something that is really heavy to hold, but it's heavier when you're trying to hold it on your own. And so if there's somebody who's going through it right now or has gone through it and is fearful of it happening again, like I've been there, like me too. Like I still, like I'm still in that space of like, I'm 15 weeks now and I still feel like, what if, and it's hard and it's hard to live in that, but it's also hard to talk to people about it because you just never know. You never know. And that's the other thing that I would love to talk just a tiny bit about too is how much it changed my perspective on asking people about family planning and pregnancy and this and that of like I used to be like the person that was like, "Oh, when are you guys gonna have kids?" Or like, "Oh, like your little one's getting big. Like, are you guys gonna have another one?" And like all coming from a place of well-intentioned thoughts and questions. But after having had a miscarriage and having friends that have gone through loss, like chemical pregnancy or actual miscarriage or late stage loss, it's just something that I just don't even bring up ever anymore because you never know because it's not talked about enough. And because it's like something that's hard. If you're in a space of, we've been trying to get pregnant for a long time, and then someone comes in and it's like, hey, when are you going to have your second baby? And you're like, it could be the wrong time, and that could just hit the person like really, really heavy and lead them into this place that is not healthy or safe for any of us to go, And so, and I remember being that place of like, we had gotten married and people didn't know about the miscarriage and they would ask us like, when are you guys going to have a baby or when are you going to start your family? And I remember being like, if only you knew that we tried. Like, it just like those like, and you don't want to be in that space and you don't want to respond in that way. But in my head, like that's how I felt and that's real and that's honest. And now, like I said, it's giving me so much perspective on just praying for people and like like it's the people that are going through that are constantly on my heart and my mind because it's just so hard to navigate and you just like I said you just truly never know.
I think that's been something like I've learned as a mom now is like you really don't know what anyone is going through. Like unless they're open and vulnerable with you, like you just can't assume, you can't judge, you can't I don't know, you just can't put yourself in their shoes because you don't know what they're going through. And I think that's given
Mhm.
me a greater perspective as just a person in general. Cause I think similar to you, I would be like, oh my goodness, when are you gonna have a kid? Like
Mhm.
this is
And
such
again,
an
all from like a good well-meaning
mm-hmm.
place. Like it's not with any bad intent in any way, but like you said, yeah, you just never know.
You never know. And I just like I've said before, like I just truly can't even imagine being in that space because I would imagine it'd be really hard and it would be really
Mhm.
difficult to navigate. And then yeah, you don't want to say the wrong thing or you don't want to make someone feel bad for what they're going through, but you just
Mhm.
don't know.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, in the same breath, people going through it know that it's not intended that way,
Hmm.
but it's just they're in a place, and I was in a place of hurt that like it just didn't really matter.
I
And
mean,
I would respond in a way that was like kind and nice, but on the inside, it was like tearing me apart, And so it's just, it's like, I don't know, walking that line of just keep them in your thoughts, keep them in your prayers, and talk about it, think about it with your friends and family, and like let it be more of a conversation that becomes mainstream and not taboo. And I think that is the way that we better support families going through it, is just trying to get more conversation around it.
and I really appreciate how you shared kind of your healing journey with it
Mhm.
because I would imagine it'd be really raw, like raw
Mhm.
emotions for a really long time. And
Mhm.
I have heard a lot of women share with me, like, I just don't know how I'm going to heal from this, or I don't know how I'm going to move past it. But those little things that you shared I think are so
Hmm.
beautiful. And I love that you still incorporate this baby into your family. Like you're not
Hmm.
forgetting or you're not just shoving that away. Because I
Hmm.
imagine one day your son, he's going to know like
Hmm.
this baby is also a part of our family, which I think is really beautiful.
Yeah, that was something that for myself and for my husband, we just found it to be, like you said, healing. Like we planted a sunflower, and like anytime we see a sunflower, we now think of the baby. And like the color yellow, that like sunflower yellow, I've used in a lot of my branding for my fitness stuff as a way to kind of like honor that baby because it was like such a part of my motherhood experience that I don't want to forget it. And like I want it to be something that like I feel honored to have had the opportunity to have that baby, even if they didn't come, on this side of earth. But it is also something that, yeah, like I'm a believer and I believe in heaven. And so we do want it to be something that like our family can look forward to of like one day we may meet that baby in heaven and like that's exciting. Like our family will be one, and holding on to that and not just like allowing them to be forgotten. And I know that's not for everyone, but for us, that was something that was like very important from a healing standpoint was to keep them part of our family.
I love that. I think that that is just truly so beautiful. And I don't know, I think it just is so special. And I'm really grateful that you have shared that because I think a lot of moms and families out there are going to find comfort in your story and know that they're not alone or just help them through that process. So thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for encouraging me to share.
There's just so many personal experiences that we go through, and a lot of them I think are behind closed doors in what we go through. Um,
Hmm.
but moving back to where you are now and
Hmm.
what you're doing as a career and just helping other people, how has becoming a mother impacted who you are and wanting to help other people in their own personal lives and support for women in general?
Yeah. So it's funny because I was just talking to somebody about this on the front of like occupational therapy and like, did you ever think you would be doing what you're doing now? And my answer like 5 years ago would have been like, no, absolutely not. Like in like women's health and wellness, like I remember being in occupational therapy school and like learning about pelvic health and we had like one professor that did like pelvic floor therapy and I was like, interesting, seems weird. But like never envisioned myself being there because I didn't have the real life experience. And then when I went into the NICU and had that experience with supporting moms and dads and families in that space, in that like very fragile newborn, premature newborn space, that was kind of my first inkling of like, this is really cool. Like being able to come alongside these families and offer support in the ways that are life giving and not life taking. Because I think in the NICU, like they have all these people coming in all the time, all these monitors on their babies. The babies are getting tested, they're getting poked, they're prodded, they're getting measured, they're getting their position changed. They're being fed sometimes by like a G tube or not by a bottle until they get to a certain point where they have the developmental readiness for that. And like these parents are just so overwhelmed by all of the things that are the NICU. And then the therapists come in and give them ways to bond with their baby, to connect with their baby, to identify the needs of the baby without all the monitors so that when they go home, they feel supported. Um, and that was something that really stuck with me, um, from one side of things of like being able to support like families, but moms in particular in like a very challenging stage of life. But just not quite feeling ready for that until I had my own experience. And then transitioning to becoming pregnant. And I had worked in pediatric OT prior, like I did online fitness and I did pediatric OT prior to being pregnant myself. And I remember being becoming pregnant and like going through all these bodily changes and trying to stay in my fitness routine and trying to like get more education on prenatal fitness and support and whatnot, and just being like, wow, like moms are not getting a whole lot of support in this time of like what is quote unquote safe to do, what is not safe to do, and like just the lack of support for moms in general before they're even moms, like when they're in pregnancy. And so then that became my like passion during pregnancy was like, okay, my provider didn't give me a whole lot of information on what I can or can't do. So like I need to educate myself to be able to then educate others because I'm very passionate about this and I know that we should be our strongest when our bodies need us the most. And the research is now coming out more and more and supporting that, which is great. But there's still kind of a lag from like a provider standpoint of being able to transfer that knowledge to patients and, really advocate for continuing exercise routines and not just like taking it easy and walking and doing yoga, right? Like those things are fine and good, but our bodies need to be strong. And so that's kind of how I started getting into the mom space, was just my own pregnancy experience. And then postpartum, having all of those feeding experiences. And then also like wanting to support my baby's development while I myself was healing. And so kind of creating these like movement routines that like were good for both of us. And like I could get on the floor and play with him and like be supporting his development and my recovery at the same time. And those were the spaces that I was like, wow, like moms could really benefit from this. And that's where my business, where it's kind of grown now, is to support moms in every stage of life. And so during pregnancy, postpartum recovery, bonding with your baby, supporting their development, and then also like trying to create some type of routine for yourself as a mom, whether you're a working mom, a stay-at-home mom, or a combination of the two. It's hard to find the time to continue exercising and supporting your own body when your life has all these demands. And so it's been really sweet to see how it's evolved over time and how I've personally like grown and evolved to be able to help support women through these different stages of life. And also really rewarding to see the way that moms are just feeling empowered. Because that's, I feel like the biggest thing is like, my goal is to help make these other moms and these other women feel like they can do all the things they want to do. And that's something that has just really shown through all the different stages, pregnancy, postpartum, and then like motherhood. Is just that these women are like, wow, like I am so glad that we worked together and you showed me that like I could do these things and that I should do these things and that like I feel stronger now and more capable now than I did even before my first pregnancy because I just didn't know what my body was able to do really. And whether that's stress management or strength training or nutrition guidance or a combination of all the things, just really coming alongside moms and being like honestly their biggest cheerleader through it all because we all need that. We need that support and that positive encouragement and that like somebody that's being a role model in a way that's not competitive, It's someone that's like, hey, yeah, your life and your schedule is really hard. Like absolutely. And we can find some ways that you can fit in time for you within it that'll give you more life, that'll fill up your cup, that won't feel like just another thing on the to-do list. And then it becomes part of their daily life. And so, again, sorry, another long-winded answer, but I just love seeing the way moms light up when they like the light bulb goes on and they're like, wow, like I can do this. It's like, yes, you sure can.
I think that's beautiful. And I think that's so great that you're so passionate about that because then people see that and women see that. And I think once you get in that routine and once you find like what works for you, it is like a light bulb moment. You're like, whoa, I do need this. And I love what you said about one of your clients saying like they're in better shape after like going into their, I don't know if they were in there going into their second pregnancy, because that's how I feel. Like I knew I was in good shape going into my first, but then I knew after my first what I needed to be in for my second. And I feel
Mm-hmm.
like I've been in better shape for my second because you just don't know before. Like, It's so
Yeah.
hard. And I found it hard too because my provider, like, I never knew exactly what, like,
Mm-hmm.
it was
It's
very
like whatever
vague.
whatever feels good for your body. Like
Yeah, and
that's
I was
super
like,
helpful. Thanks.
well, a lot of things feel good. So I don't know exactly where. So I knew for me, like, I have a really active toddler. Like, he is
Mm-hmm.
really active. He's a, I, lack of better terms, he's a dense kid. Like, he's
Yeah.
heavy. So I was like,
Yeah.
I need to be strong. Like, and if
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be gaining weight in this pregnancy, which is natural, but
Right.
my body's going to change. I'm going to have a
Mm-hmm.
toddler that still wants to be loved. I need
Mm-hmm.
to be strong for my family. And that was something that
Mm-hmm.
I knew going into the second pregnancy. I was like, I need to make sure that my body's prepared. And I think it's so great, like, that you get to be that cheerleader for so many women.
Yeah, it is fun. And good on you for recognizing that and like making it a priority because it's hard to do that. It truly is to like identify the fact that like, oh, my body is requiring a lot of me. And as I'm growing this second baby and caring for my toddler or however many other kids you may have, um, like our we really do need to give our bodies the love that it requires to be able to sustain us through those things. Um, and yeah, it is fun to be the cheerleader and like be the one that's like, yeah, I told you you could do that. Like you totally can. Because I feel like we as moms don't give ourselves enough credit a lot of the time. And so being able to be the one that's like, yep, you sure can and you sure did. It's cool. It's cool because it's helping moms identify what's inside themselves and feel really good about it. And I love that.
I think that's amazing. And I think it's so funny as moms, like, I think I am always hardest on myself.
Oh
And
yeah.
but my friends and anyone, I'd be like, "Oh my goodness, you go girl. Like, you're amazing and you're doing all these awesome things." And I think what you've said is a good reminder to, like, be proud of what we've accomplished ourselves and know that,
Hmm.
like, being a mom is hard, but, like, overcoming that and just finding what brings you joy and knowing, like, but we have become so strong in that hard time that we are
Hmm.
now just really amazing.
Yeah, totally. Moms are rock stars, doing it all.
They are.
Um, yeah, it's pretty sweet.
Well, I think we could talk about a million things and continue going, but I have one final question for you. And it is, in this wild journey of motherhood, how have you grown as a woman?
I think the area that I have grown the most in, honestly, would be my faith. And I think it's just I I'm pretty type A when it comes to like business and like professional things, and then I'm pretty like I want to have no plan outside of anything professional. Like I like to be spontaneous and present, and like my husband and I are not super social, I wouldn't say, so we kind of just like to go with the flow and be able to like pick up and go whenever we want. We don't make a ton of plans. Um, but that being said, on like the type A side of things, I tend to get very self-reliant and very like, I need to do all of these things and I need to do them all really well and the perfectly and it's all up to me. And it's all like I put a lot of pressure on myself to do those things. And I think in motherhood, that's like the worst possible thing I could do for myself because it's like I just physically couldn't. And so the way that I have grown the most in motherhood is just starting to really force myself to surrender, and to truly just rely on the Lord to like get me through things because like it's not my burden to hold and I need to just like have palms open and like letting things go because like I said, yeah, like it's not my job to do it all and I'm not created to do it all. And I think just relying on the fact that like God will give me the strength and the sustenance in the day to day and the days that feel really hard and really heavy, like I pray even harder because that's like truly what gets me through it. And it's actually a goal of mine right now to get up earlier to have like just time to read the Bible and pray before I start my day. And it is one of the hardest things because I also am like still navigating childcare and running a business and whatnot. And so I'm often up late working on things after my son has gone to bed. And so then trying to get up early is like so hard. But the days that I do it are the days that I truly am like the most at peace. And it's just like incredible to reflect on the fact that, like, yes, it's hard, but even those like 10 minutes earlier made such a difference for my day. Like, I was just allowing things to brush off me faster and growing in a way of like, I don't have to solve this problem right now, right here, right, and like, I don't have to be the perfect mom and I don't have all these pressures that I put on myself. Like, I can let them go and just be a little bit more present. And that has been something that has just been so life-giving, but also challenging. Like, it's a daily challenge. And it's not perfect in any means, but that's something that has truly helped me get through motherhood and just like creating a community also around that that'll rally and support you and pray through those different challenges. And I say you, but I mean me. Pray through any challenges that may be feeling heavy on my heart, like having those people around me to be like, yeah, like, you're on our heart. We're thinking about you. We're praying for you. Like, that has been the biggest game changer for me in motherhood.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I just love all those pieces, and just you've shared so many amazing and beautiful stories and experiences, and I'm really grateful for you, and I'm grateful that you have wanted to be on here. So thank you.
Thank you, Kaylee. I appreciate you. This has been such a fun conversation.
What an amazing episode. Truly so grateful to learn from Sydney and to have her share some of her moments through motherhood. Women are so strong. No matter where you are in your motherhood journey, know that you are not alone. Thank you again for listening, and I love being able to share all these amazing stories. See you next time.